In this video, we will calculate future value of a regular series of investment. Now, the question says if you invest rupees 10,000 per annum. Now, this is an important thing to note. It's per annum, it's not one single investment of rupees 10,000. So, 10,000 rupees invested every year. How much money will you accumulate at the end of 5th year if the rate is 10%? And the question has two subparts: if you start investing at beginning of each year and if you invest at end of each year. To understand this, let us create a timeline starting with the current year, which is 2013. So let's start with 2013. If you start with 2013, when do you end with your 5 years? You end at the end of 2018. So 2013, 2014, and if you drag it down, that's 2014, 2015, 16, 17 and 18. So what you have is you have 6 years on the timeline, because the year in which you start is your year 0, as in this is the beginning of first year. Your first year will end in 2014, and hence for the 5 years you will have 6 years on the timeline. Once again, if you stretch this out, it will become 0 to 5. Now, where are we investing is the key difference between the part A and the part B. In our part A, we are investing at beginning of the year. And where is beginning of the year? The beginning of year is at point 0 in 2013. So if I look at beginning of next 1 year, and this beginning of year need not be confused with 1st of January. The beginning of year can be anywhere. It can be July, it can be September. So wherever you begin, your 1 year begins. Minus 10,000 in 2013. The same amount of investment in 14, 15, 16 and 17. So this ways what has happened is we have invested rupees 10,000 at beginning of year 1, beginning of year 2, beginning of year 3, beginning of year 4 and beginning of year 5. Please note that the point 1 also denotes beginning of year 2 as well as end of year 1. Similarly, the point 2 would also denote end of year 2 and beginning of year 3, and point 4 would denote beginning of year 5. So having invested all of these monies, our question was that by the end of 5th year, how much money will we accumulate? And to answer this question, we can calculate is equal to future value, wherein rate of interest has been given to us as 10%, NPER is 5 years, PMT is minus 10,000. There is no present value in the question, and type. Now type is what classifies in for system whether the investment or the cash flow is happening at beginning of the period or at end of the period. So important thing to remember is that if we want to tell the system, if we want to let the system know that in this question consider cash flows at beginning of each period, we got to put type as 1. Type 1 meaning cash flows occurring at beginning of the year. So the answer comes to 67,156 if you invest 10,000 rupees at beginning of each year, which means you invest with type 1 pattern. The other type is type 0, and that is what would be applicable for end of the year. So if you are going to invest at end of year 1, meaning you won't invest in 2013 at all. You will sit around for 1 year and then you would invest 10,000 rupees at the end of year 1. and after that invest the same money for next 5 years. Now before calculating the final answer, take a guess. The answer from B, would it be equal to A, or would it be lesser than A, or would it be more than A? Well, as you might have guessed it, it has got to be lesser than A part. The reason being, you are losing 1 full year's interest on each 10,000 investment. In fact, the last year does not get you any interest. It just goes in and adds the corpus by rupees 10,000. Right? So you have your last investment right in 10,000 at the end of 5th year in 2018. That is also the year when we will calculate our future value. So future value rate once again being 10%, NPER being 5 years, PMT minus 10,000, and there is no PV still, and type is going to be 0. An important note to remember is that whenever system is not given any type, if you forget to give type, the system by default will always take type as 0. The answer is 61051. As expected, this answer is lesser than our earlier answer. And now how much less do you ask? Is there a relationship between the answer that you get from end or answer that you get from type 0, which is 61,051, type 0 answer, and the type 1 answer? Well, it turns out that basically what has happened with type 0 is that each investment has lost 1 full year, and the rate of interest for that 1 full year is 10%. And hence, if you increase this type 0 investment by 1 year, that is by 10%, it should go to type 1 investment. So 61,051 into 110%. Why 110%? Because 61,051 100% is the same amount, 10% extra, and we get 67,156. So result of delaying 1 year is loss of 1 year's interest, which is 10%.